Hi, I'm Jason Gorba, and we're here to look at the Samsung 34BG850SN OLED curved monitor. It's not always the easiest thing to actually show off a monitor on the YouTube, but I thought we would do it here. I mean, first things first, I mean, you can see that the thing is great. I mean, it's 34 inches diagonal. It's a curved screen. It has OLED technology, which gives you several advantages, not only for content creation, but also for gaming, with incredible fast response time. It's 0.1 millisecond response. The way that OLED works as a technology actually allows much faster refresh than on traditional LCD, simply because the pixels are on and off much quicker. It's pure black, so that the pixels are either on or it's off. It's not going through some sort of filtration or some other backlight that's actually affecting the response time. So for gamers out there, this is a real ideal. The sort of the contemporary move over the last couple of years to actually go with OLED monitors has really dramatically changed those that are looking for the absolute utmost in incredibly fast response times. Plus, you get really impressive blacks, you get incredible wide color gamut, and it's pretty impressive. Now, on television, if this was straight up a television, I'm not a huge fan of curve. But because you're sitting so close to a monitor, the curve actually does actually creates a sense of immersion. It's not ideal for watching, for me, things like movies and stuff like that, because it does distort a little bit, even if where you're sitting. But certainly for gaming and as I said, for certain elements where you actually sort of want to feel completely sort of wrapped around with that sort of screen, this sort of mode works very well. Of course, it works absolutely as a regular Windows monitor. I have it plugged in from USB-C here from my computer monitor. There's a display port. There's various other outputs on the back that we'll get to. But let's go through the sort of general specifications. Obviously, it's a 34 inch, hence that's 34B. It's a curved. Display size 800 millimeters by 337. Aspect ratio is 21:9. So if you're setting it up on your computer monitor, you're basically going to get a 16:9 in the middle of this. So you're actually seeing a 21:9 video right now. It gives a 250 candles per meters cube, whatever brightness, blah, 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 but it's the 1,000,000 to 1 contrast ratio, which is really the big deal. And again, contrast ratios are always relative. It's like, obviously it's relative, it's a ratio, but on certain other monitors, you sort of get used to a higher level black, a slightly grayer, a slightly murkier black. But when it comes to OLED, black's black. It's as simple as that. It does mean the peak brightness tends to be a little bit less than you can actually crank off LCDs, but nonetheless, I prefer, because of the stuff that I do, to actually have the more sort of pure color. It does do HDR10 plus. It has full HDR with VISA Dynamic HDR True Black 400, which is sort of a proprietary thing. Mini LED local dimming. Obviously it doesn't have mini LED because it doesn't do that work. Resolution 3440 by 1440. And as I said, a response time of 0.1 milliseconds. Amazing. And the viewing angle is also very impressive. It's 178 degrees horizontal and 178 vertical. So you actually have, I'm sitting here like literally almost at 180 degrees to it. And the colors are not distorting or anything like that. 99% DCI color gamut, does not do sRGB, does not do Adobe RGB built in, and the refresh rate is 175 hertz as a maximum, which is pretty impressive. Now, those are all the sort of general sort of silliness going on with it. I will say that as a monitor, it is quite impressive, but it also obviously works as a television. You can actually set it up. It comes with a remote control, and it has built-in Wi-Fi, and it allows you to stream. I mean, you can see on the remote here, we got Netflix, we got Disney Plus, Prime Video. So this can be sort of a dual thing, rather than, I mean, obviously you could use your computer to stream those things if that's plugged in, but if all this was a standalone television, you could get away with that, or at least use the built-in. I personally would recommend, for me, not actually having a curved television for television, especially if you're not sitting, you know, half a meter in front of it like you would with a monitor. Now, I've been waiting to do this because I know some people actually enjoy this sort of thing, this sort of craziness of Oh yeah, of actually peeling off the plastic, and you can see immediately how the color should shift even on the terribleness of YouTube. The colorness should shift a little bit, and you get this really incredibly, I mean, you see, it's like, we used to, as an old man, we used to have much smaller monitors. I mean, even on your laptop, this is what it used to. The fact that I can plug this in directly to a laptop just with a USB-C cable and actually be getting 4K video completely streaming without any issues is actually fantastic. The actual menus, if sort of we hit the home button here, you can see that we have the ability to completely work it just as we would with any sort of built-in television, like a Samsung TV. And then just when I hit PC, it actually goes to the PC monitor. But I have itself its own built-in YouTube player, Apple TV, Disney Plus, etc. I can go in here with specific game modes, which will actually engage, that actually have game overlays. I can set up different workspaces all I want. And even here, you can see that I can go into the settings, I go to the settings and go into all settings. Let's try that again. Menu settings, all settings. And here, I can actually go and fully customize the picture as much as I want. You can see that I can actually force this if I want to 16:9. You can see how the black bars sort of change here, or even a 4:3 screen if that's what I was actually wanting to do. Again, because the blacks are so black, if the lights are totally off, it's almost like this is floating, which is fantastic. Back to 21:9. Again, fit to screen can be on or off. I mean, I can do, let's just try this here, and then I turn this off, right? And so this is like a full 69:9. Go to that, and the same thing that I can do 4:3. And you can see that it sort of does exactly what we would want it to do. But of course, we're going to go with 21:9 while we're doing this. Eye care, I mean, this stuff I normally turn off. Adaptive picture will actually adapt based on lighting circumstances. I tend to just calibrate these things so that they're standard for whatever my setting, and I tend to listen to it. You can see I actually cranked the brightness. That actually came a little bit lower because of the way that we're recording this in a much darker room. That would be different. Color, tint, contrast enhancer on or off. You can see that you can actually change the picture just by doing that, sort of artificially messing with that. Color tone warm to is usually the most accurate for movies, but if I was doing more computery stuff, I'd probably keep it on standard, but the actual correct tone tends to be warm too. White balance, I can absolutely go in here and actually, you can see that I actually have a 20-point calibration setting if I choose to do that. The gamma, I have it on BT1886. We can go with 2.2. And on, if I had different HDR stuff, I could actually do HLG and stuff like that if I was actually plugged in with a much more robust gaming monitor, gaming card rather. Shadow detail, you can see that I can tweak that. Color space settings, you can see that we have native or auto. I mean, we might as well go with auto in this case. Peak brightness. So this actually allows you here to actually sort of, it basically changes the way that the gamma curve works, the brightness curve rather. So if you set this, again, for gamers, this is super beneficial because it's actually set, like whatever's inputs coming in, especially for HDR, will actually lock up with that. Or if you're using this as a grading monitor, that actually works well too. If you're control, again, that'll come up. If I was doing variable refresh for gaming, that would actually allow me to do, and of course a reset picture. So you can see it looks exactly like a television, like of course it does. You can see in the gaming stuff, this will be very important for some people. Adaptive sync, virtual aim point, so I can actually hear, you can see that if I do this, I actually have right here in the middle where I would be aiming. So you can actually, I don't know, is that a cheat? I don't know, not a gamer. But nonetheless, you can actually go ahead and sort of add to, so you see where the dead center of your screen is. You can see that my thing is right there. Let's turn that off. Virtual aim point, you can see I can do a red, you know, all kinds of options here. Let's just turn that off. Core lighting, again, which actually affects the way that the elements actually sort of go back and forth. Dynamic black equalizer. This basically allows me to really pump up the blacks for games where they are particularly dark. And HDR tone mapping, you can see that I can actually do advanced, or I can totally turn off tone mapping, which for gaming sometimes actually works well. Let's go back in here and get everything sort of the way that we want to, and this should kick back in, and it does. So that's our look at the S34B G850SN. It's a remarkable screen. It's incredibly well built. It's nice and solid. It comes with, I mean, I'm going to sort of rotate this around so you can see how implausibly thin it is. A really nice base stand here, a bunch of separate inputs. We have a display port, and we have two USB-C and a mini HDMI. The actual power brick is this big beefy thing, but that's okay because it's just going to sort of sit back behind the floor. But this is where they put much of the actual robustness of the power supply, so it doesn't need to actually be on the monitor. And if you choose, you can see this on the stand, which sort of clips in the way that you want it to do. If you wish, it actually comes with this, which is a VESA stand. So if you actually pop this in, I have those very familiar 4 screw holes where I can put any mounting stand that I want, and then I could have this on an articulated stand. A video for that coming shortly. But nonetheless, here's our look at the S34B G850SN monitor from Samsung. Really quite lovely. I gave it quite a bit of work on paces just as a regular user, as a non-gaming user. It's a pretty extraordinary monitor. Again, you can see that I got a reflection. You got to get used to it being sort of curved, but when you're sitting right in front of it, I think it does an extraordinary job. You are going to get, you have to get slightly used to the way that OLED sort of behaves. It's a different look, but especially if you have a dark environment, unlike where I'm shooting now, but if you have a dark environment, it really is extraordinary. I should point out that on the stand, I can obviously tilt it up and down, and I can actually have it go up and down this way. So even on its standard stand, you know, it's a little bit of give, but it's certainly robust enough. It's quite extraordinary that this sort of thing is available. I used to dream of this sort of thing, and here we are, available for consumer purchase. Thanks so much for watching. Let us know what you think of this monitor or any other monitors. Any questions you may have in the comments. We will see you next video. All the best. Take care.